fuck?
From my experience, this has been a hot take. Rerefines. How do you feel about Rerefines?
There we go. That's a hot take.
Long-running gacha games do basically Rerefines, or even in some cases refine. If the game lasts that long.
I don't see it
10
working.
years old. Yeah. You don't see it working?
Nope, not in FEH.
33% say L take, 66 say W take.
So it seems that the idea of Rerefines in FEH is somewhat of a good idea. Now, whilst we are obviously not getting that, it does beg the question, if Rerefines were to exist, how would they look like? So in this video, I want to showcase 6 Rerefine theory crafts that I've created for essentially the first 6 perf weapons that got refines. My goal for these refines is to make units more similar to what these units have in the modern version, or at least what their more modern alts have, you know? I may do more of these refines in the future, but if I do, let me know what y'all want to see refines, or just, you know, who gets a refine or a normal refine in general. So let's just get into it.
I'll protect you no matter what. Just stick close to me.
So firstly, we got Soul Katti from Lin. The base effect before refining is Desperation 2, which is obviously not great at all in today's meta, but the refine improves it by, let's say, 2%, by upgrading the base effect Desperation from Desperation 2 to 3, which is 50 to 75% or lower. And the refine grants essentially a stronger version of Brash Assault, not Brash Assault 4, Brash Assault 3. Basically, this gives her a guaranteed fall attack if she initiates combat against someone who counters, but her HP needs to be 75% or lower. Now, Brash Assault 3 obviously it's 50%, so obviously it's better than that. But even then, this weapon is obviously extremely outdated, but it makes sense because it's one of the first refines ever made. So let's see what I can do to improve this. Firstly, I upgraded the base effect, so now it grants +5 to all stats, 15 true damage reduction, and gives full no follow-up. And additionally, she still has the Desperation effect, except it has no HP condition. Now, I know what you're thinking. I gave her full no follow-up instead of guaranteed follow-up attack, but we'll get there in a second. So, whilst I made that base effect, it's kind of like a weird effect because I gave her true damage reduction and Desperation, which, to be fair, we have, we have the Flying Azura. I don't know what the alt is called specifically, but she does have damage reduction and Desperation. So adding it to this would not be weird, in my opinion. Like, if the foe can still counter, if you don't proc all of your hits, you're still gonna take damage. So 15 true damage reduction is gonna help that out. But also, I think Soul Katti in the base game gives resistance, which this one doesn't. So let's just add that kind of resistance back in just true damage reduction form. But in addition to her base effect, her refine gives her slaying, and then for herself and allies within 3 rows or 3 columns, she gets +10 to all stats and 20 true damage, whilst her allies get +5 to all stats and 10 true damage. But for both herself and allies, they gain pre-impulse and special cooldown count -1 after combat. And additionally for Lin, she gets potent follow-up 100 if decreasing the speed difference by 10. If I were to incorporate this with Lin's base kit, she obviously comes with Gale Force, which was her main thing back then. So this refine allows her to gain a lot of special pulses both during and after combat. Now, during combat it might not be useful because you're not going to proc your special before, like, during combat, but after combat your thing does work. Now, here's a fun fact. I don't know if y'all remember this, but for those that don't know, the special cooldown reduction that happens after combat happens before Gale Force. So if your special is only on 1 cooldown after combat, and this effect, for example, would reduce it to 0, Gale Force will proc that way. So in that sense, it works really well. And besides that, she can grant the same special pulsation, let's say it like that, to her allies. So if they have Gale Force, that could also work for them. And even then, if they don't have something like Gale Force, if they have like a special that could work on enemy phase like Gust, or something high cooldown, and that could work with Legoose Friend or Legoose Loyalty, that could also work really well because she gives special pulls. It's essentially just times pulls for allies, except it doesn't check for your max special cooldown. It just does it automatically. So whilst that refine is pretty good, what would be a strong build for this refine specifically? Well, I have one idea, and you could generally just figure out anything in my opinion, but for the lost my voice, great. For the special, something like Comet would work really well. And maybe Arc Rifle. I feel like Arc Rifle is probably better and could proc easily, but considering that she has a lot of true damage potential because she gets plus 20, and then she obviously has her A, B, and C that could still grant her more if it can, Comet would work really well because Comet will triple that damage to, triple that damage. It's really good. And considering that, Comet comes with Quicken Pulse essentially, granting a special cooling count every turn, it could work extremely well, considering that her weapon already gives a lot of pulse cooldown, preempt pulse, and then cooldown after combat. So she could deal a lot of damage during combat, so that could work really well. And considering that we just got a new skill from Harmonic, Harmonic Siwa Celica, and Veronica on the side. That's a whole mouthful, Jesus Christ, unit. Faye, why do you keep releasing these units? I can't read anymore. So this skill obviously gives attack speed, but also gives 7 true damage, which is, good. It also grants no follow-up, which is kind of useless because, Lyn already has no follow-up, so it's just there for something. But it also grants Canto Distance, so that's also nice to have. And considering that she has Canto Distance on the A skill, you could run a different type of Tempest skills. Now, here's the thing. I know we have Brutal Tempest, which is very common, and I know it's a very good C skill. But have you considered on the other Tempest skills? Like something like Pulse Tempest F. That could work really well with this. And combined with Execution Breath and the Erica ring, she could be like an insanely strong player face unit. So think about this. You could essentially proc Comet twice during combat by just initiating combat. Because your special jumps so much on your first and second hit, and that doesn't even count as your follow-up because you have the Erica ring, you're gonna Brave hit. You're gonna essentially have Brave hit. So think about this, for example. Let me give you a nice demonstration. Let's even put it on the screen right next to me. I don't know where I'm gonna put it, but let's just give it to this. So you obviously have Comet, which is a 5 cooldown special. Because the refine comes to slaying, it's now 4. Comet reduces that to 3 because of the pulse effect that it has. Now, if you initiate combat, the weapon that it has pre-impulse, so it's gonna go from 3 to 2 before you even hit. Now, when you hit, you obviously have Execution Breath. Now that breath is going to reduce that 2 to 0. And because you're still in that first attack sequence because of the Brave hit, your second attack, or your first attack, which is just your Brave hit, that's going to trigger the Comet. Now obviously you have Desperation. Now what does that mean? You're on 4 cooldown on your, before even doing your third hit, which is your first follow-up. Now your first follow-up triggers, which triggers that triggers Tempest Follow F, which gives you -2 cooldown. So that's now 2, and then you hit, it's now 0 again, so your second follow-up hit is gonna trigger your Comet, and then you obviously have one little attack left, which is not gonna trigger anything, but it's just an additional attack that you can have. So you could trigger Comet twice during combat if you initiate combat. So that would be really strong. I also added Finish for the seal because that's just more true damage. I don't think we have any other seals that can deal true damage on specifically infantry units or just anyone. I don't know. We obviously have Blue Sky. I get that, but yeah. So all in all, this whole build could work really well. Now you could obviously have Arc Rifle, which has a completely different story, but I feel like this is more creative in a way, because you're gonna proc that special twice. Arc Rifle could do the same thing. probably, but I feel like this could be really good.
Honorable knights must sometimes end things honorably with a battle.
Next up, we got Mystletainn from Eldigan. Now, the base effect is just slaying. There's nothing else. The base effect is slaying. And the refine is Fury 3. I have a weird opinion about Fury. Like, right now in the current meta, Fury is in a weird spot. Like, damaging yourself is generally not that great. Like, it could proc stuff like Escape Route, or maybe even Wings of Mercy for allies so that you can do it. But, you know, as a weapon, damaging yourself by 6, by the way. 6 damage is a lot. You have skills that heal you for 7. Like, both during combat when you hit the foe, before combat even begins, and that would be like 14 or 15, or after combat when you heal 7. This is 6 damage after it. So it's definitely not there. Even Resonance doesn't even damage you that much. It damages you for essentially like a small chunk of your max HP, which in most cases I believe is like what, 5, and that's for your benefit. You're initiating, so that's gonna, you know, work for you. So what can I do to fix this? It's simple. I can do a lot. So for the base effect, I kept it slaying because, you know, slaying's strong effects have. Are you kidding me? And then for himself and allies within 3 rows or 3 columns, they gain +5 to all stats, a guaranteed follow-up attack, and follow-up denial against the foes. And additionally for Eldigan himself, he gets he doesn't get plus. He gets 15 true damage reduction. I know that follow-up denying effects isn't the strongest effect ever. Like, obviously on Patience, it's there, you know, it's an effect that's there. It's not the greatest effect ever, but, you know, granting guaranteed follow-up attacks is, you know, that's something. I feel like that's still strong in today's meta, you know? Like, some units have guaranteed follow-up attacks. If the foe has no follow-up, boo-hoo, you're out of luck. But guaranteed follow-up attacks is still a strong effect, you know? The idea of most units having high attack, defense, or res, you know, they're gonna obviously have low speed, so a guaranteed follow-up attack would be really nice for them. Now, for the refine, I did a lot. I'm sorry. He gets Canter Rem +1, which is normal. It's a fine effect. He also gets +10 to all stats during combat, +20 damage, and 50% damage reduction piercing. Now, that is pretty good, but now we have a nice little thing. She gets a special jump based on the special. Now, if he has an AoE special, he will gain charges, or his special will go down based on how many spaces Eldigan specifically moves when he initiates combat. If he does not have an AoE special, but he does have an offensive special, his special will go down based on how many spaces either Eldigan or the foe moved when initiating combat. And this goes up to -3 cooldown. Considering that Eldigan comes with an AoE special, and he has Slaying, by the way, I thought an AoE special jump is something that he needs. And, you know, if you don't want to do something like that, I gave you the other option, that if you want the normal offense special, you get the special jump that's similar to Fafnir, Pirate Veronica, and even Legendary Xander. Like, yeah, Xander is right next to him, so don't worry about that. I also made it so that 20 true damage that Eldigan deals is also gonna be included in the AoE. So in that way, it comes really well. But considering we have so many units and skills even that can just reduce damage from AoEs, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't even matter, you know? But I included it because, you know, it wouldn't make sense otherwise by just having true damage not based on AoE when it also can benefit from AoE. Or you have an AoE jump, you know? Now for the build, something like Arc Rifle and the Sigurd Ring would be nice. Now, I know he comes with Kanto already in his base kit, or in his refine, and I know I added that, and you know, but this is just generally for him, you know, that could work well, and you know, the Kanto ring could help him with the Kanto ring, Jesus Christ, the Sigurd ring could help him with a better Kanto, because honestly, Kanto Rem is not the strongest Kanto. It's like on the same par of just having Kanto 2 or something. Now Kanto 3 is better, but the whole idea is not to give him Kanto from the ring, it's more for the extra space that he needs, you know? Moving spores? Nice. Moving 4 spaces for a Cav, and considering that he has something that can, like, you know, trigger based on how many spaces he moved, he definitely wants something like this. Now for the Ace skill, you could either go Slice, Dirty Blow, or Blue Sky Gust. Now, I went for Blue Sky Gust. Now, it's really weird because I obviously gave him the Sigurd Ring, which is Canto 3, and then he obviously has the weapon that gives Canto Rem, and now I'm giving him essentially something different. Now, the reason why I'm not doing Slice, Dirty Blow, I know 5 extra damage is nice, it's really good, but like, it's only on player phase. If you're on enemy phase, you're not gonna get anything, you know? You're gonna be a frail little dude. You're gonna be very frail. Now obviously, Blue Sky Gust obviously procs on both phases and can give way more true damage and damage reduction than that skill can give. So obviously for that reason there, you also have the extra Canto that you don't really need. Now I know also this skill gives attack and speed. Eldigan isn't really fast. He doesn't have speed. But honestly, the attack, the true damage, and the true damage reduction, I feel like that justifies it, you know? If you're going to lose on some defense, honestly, who cares? You're going to have just all that to compensate that, honestly, for that. Also added Execution Breath because, let's be real, it's the best B skill or the best offensive B skill you can ever have. This obviously isn't going to help for enemy phase, but like, you know, in the cases that you are enemy facing, I don't think this would work, you know? Or it would work, obviously, but like, you don't really need anything else in the B skill. Execution Breath works perfectly fine for that. And for the C skill, I did Attack, Res, Liberate. Yeah, and I know it's Attack, Res, he doesn't have Res either, but, you know, we don't have Attack, Defense, Liberate. If it was, then I would obviously recommend that over this. And also, if you had an Attack, Defense variant of Blue Sky Gust, then I would obviously recommend that as well. But we don't have those things. So, Attack, Res, Liberate. And, you know, Liberate also grants you plus 10 damage. Just based on if you know, for yourself. I think also to allies, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but it gives true damage. And that's something that Eldigan really wants, I think, for proccing his special. Now, obviously for the seal, I also did Blue Sky 3 because, let's be real, it's the best. It's just the best. It's the best seal for Cavs and Flyers that are like melee units. So, all in all, this would be really good for Eldigan. It turns him into a pretty dangerous unit, considering that he could technically trigger his arc rifle instantly against green foes. And especially if it's a green dragon with something like Scowl, like, he's gonna get -5 cooldown and then +1. That's not gonna matter because he's gonna get -4. And because he got slain, his arc rifle is just ready. It just triggers immediately. So he procs that special on the first hit every single time. And, you know, even if he doesn't proc, even if the proccing of the special doesn't really kill the foe, he has a lot of damage reduction to, you know, compensate him not dying. And he even has the follow-up denial, which, again, I said wasn't the strongest thing ever, but, you know, it could work out really well for him. So this whole thing would be really good for Eldigan. Hopefully, you know, I hope Phoenix Master watches this. I don't know if you watch my videos, but I hope I did Eldigan justice.
I will become stronger yet. I vow to protect you.
Up next, Siegmund from Ephriam. Now, the base effect. Hone Attack 2. And the Refine upgrades this to Hone Attack 3. Great. One more attack. Thank you, IS. But also, the Refine grants him a guaranteed follow-up attack if he initiates combat when his HP is 90% above. Yeah, only when he initiates. Like, okay, sure. Like, the guaranteed follow-up attack is nice, but essentially, that's all the weapon does. Like, the attack to the +4 attack to allies is only given at the start of turn for adjacent allies. It's not even gonna, you know, work really well in this meta right now. And obviously, because back then, probably Hone Attack was pretty nice, but even then you had attack. You had tactic skills. I don't know if it was back then that tactic skills was a thing, but either way, Hone Attack 3, no, not gonna help. So let's fix this, you know? Now at the start of player phase or enemy phase, yes, I made it both phases now, he grants himself and allies +6 attack and defense, the guaranteed follow-up attack status, and the breath status for 1 turn. Which is nice. This is definitely a huge upgrade from Hone Attack 2 or 3. Now for the refine, for the base effect, still he gets +5 to all stats and 20 true damage. It's very simple. It's a simple effect. It's a decent support thing for him, for himself technically, and for allies. Like, Breath is really good, considering that we get so many specials that have such high cooldown. Now, obviously, if you have Guard, that also helps in a way, because that cancels it out. So, that's obviously going to work pretty well. But, despite this base effect being, like, really, like, middle ground, like, not super strong, the refine is. And I made it sure that he gets insanely a lot of stuff. So firstly, for his refine, if he initiates combat, the foe will counterattack first. Now, if you've seen any of the more recent Ephriam alts, like the summer one or the Valentine one, you know where this is gonna go. So obviously, if he initiates combat, the foe will counterattack first. But during combat, Ephriam will get +10 to all stats, 15 true damage reduction, another 15 true damage reduction if the foe triggers a special, 50% deep wound reduction, 40% max HP healing when the combat begins, and he can attack twice during combat. Now, obviously, if you know about, what is it called? Is it called like solar... I'm trying to remember what it's called. Is it like sun? I don't know. Oh yeah, sunlit, I think. It was called sunlit bangle or something. Those skills always gave the patience effect technically. Like, the ability to let foe counter first before you initiate, before you attack. But in return you get to attack twice and heal 7 HP every time you hit. Now, in this case, instead of healing when you hit, he just heals as the combat begins. So that's gonna help him out pretty well for tanking, Like, obviously, if he gets attacked first, he wants that HP like immediately, because if he's low on HP, he's gonna die, So obviously he's gonna get that, and then the damage reduction could be really nice, because if the foe prompts a special on the first hit, then you're kind of doomed, and in this case, you're gonna get a little bit of protection. Now, all in all, does that make Ephriam a decent tank? It could, The attack twice effect also gives him like good potential to being like a good mixed phase unit. So, what would be a build to match all of that the weapon gives? Again, something like Arc Rifle, because Arc Rifle is just so good. It's just something he definitely needs. Considering he also gives himself and allies breath, it's really good. And I also gave him the the Eldigan ring, and also Brutal Tempest, because, considering that what he can do, if he moves in, anyone who's placed poorly, or just not, or if it wasn't, like, carefully thought on the placement of where the foe is, the Eldigan ring could do a lot, You could deal a lot of damage, because you're gonna attack twice, remember, you're gonna attack twice. That's gonna be super strong. For the A skill, Warrior's Blow, obviously, it gives him more damage reduction, which gives him an even better chance to become a great tank, and it gives him the tempo effect, which technically I didn't give him which I technically didn't give. I think Sunlit Bangle gives him like the half tempo, like no guard. I didn't add it, but honestly, why should you? You're attacking twice, you're getting patience, all that kind of stuff. Now with Warrior's Blow, you're obviously gonna get that back, so that's gonna be nice. And for the B skill, you could go either way. I did Rejuvenate, but you could also go Patience. Now, obviously, Rejuvenate gives him, compared to Patience, Rejuvenate gives Guard, or inflicts Guard, and gives him no C. But, to be fair, I think Arc Rifle also inflicts Guard, so it's whatever. But Patience gives you the potent follow-up attack, and also the follow-up denial, which, again, I said is 50-50 sometimes. It's good, sometimes it's not. So generally either one could work, but for this reason I picked Rejuvenate, because for the seal I did Distant Counter. Now with Distant Counter, it's gonna obviously make you a dual phase unit, so that's gonna be really handy if you're gonna have something to prevent counter or flash effects, because Rejuvenate gives you no C. It also heals you 7 HP after combat. I know Patience gives 7 HP when you hit, so that is generally better. Like, it's really 50-50 on that kind of thing. Like, obviously, patience gives you the follow-up, the potent follow-up, but also technically it gives the what you call it, the effect that the foe attacks first. Obviously, the weapon already has that, and to be fair, I think Ephriam is like has enough speed to make patience work. I think at plus 40 flowers, I think he just reached like 35 speed. I don't know I don't remember exactly, but yeah, he definitely, you know, he definitely could use patience, but rejuvenate might be better for this encounter. So that's a good, in my opinion, I feel like that's a decent build. It's a decent weapon, in my opinion, that could work really well. So I feel like that could work really well for Ephriam. Does it make him the strongest tank in the world? Obviously not. That's not my intention, obviously. It's just that these refined remixes are just there to make these old units have a second light in the modern meta, you know, because the modern meta has like too many things to worry about.
I will fight with honor, if not pride.
Alright, here we go. This is where I'm gonna get some shit for. Next up we got Hauteclere. Hauteclere? I don't know how you say it. I'm gonna say Hauteclere. Your Hauteclere. Normal Hauteclere is slaying, and the refine gives plus 10 damage when it's special procs. It's okay. You know, it's an okay effect. If it was 8 years ago, that is. This is like a weak Wrath type of weapon. Like, this is essentially Wrath, but just different. This weapon is basically Wrath, but different. Like, it's not that great. It's like, it's not bad either. I mean, it's bad. You get my point. It's not great. So, Hauteclere is Minerva's and Michaela's weapon. Now, I'm going to disappoint a good bit of people who are watching this. I know I know you guys are already holding the tomatoes, just getting ready to throw it at my face, just flat. But here's the thing. I decided to go the route of giving Minerva a different weapon. Yes, I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, get all your boosts out first, and then throw your tomatoes. Maybe after, because maybe this will be good. But just hear me out on this. So instead of remixing the current Hauteclere refine, which is really bad, well, not really bad. It's just a refine. I instead made it to where I made a completely new weapon called Royal Hauteclere. Now I know it's a cheesy name. I know, stupid. I have my reasons of why I did this instead of just refining or remixing the refine of Hauteclere. One is that, well, it's not really one. It's the only reason why I'm doing this. You know when 5-star units come out with refines nowadays, and then GHP / 4 stars? The 5-star units get essentially plus 15 to all stats. They get plus 5 from the base, and then 10 to the refine, or the other way around. Whilst the GHP and 4-star units get plus 5 and plus 5 from both the base and the refine. So that's my only reason why I'm doing this instead of just making a refine for both. Because if I were to make something with 15 to all stats, for example, Michaelis would not meet that bracket, you know, because he would get too much stats. If I did plus 10, Minerva would not get enough stats because she's a 5-star unit. So that's not gonna work. That's the whole reason why I'm doing this. So I decided to go the route of essentially what Linus and Young Marv has, which is just, I think it's a different rapier, and then, I forgot what the other web is called. Oh god, I'm blanking. Just put it up there because I'm blanking right now. So what did I do for Minerva specifically, or Royal Hauteclere? Well, she obviously has slaying, so I'm going to keep that, but now she gets plus 5 to all stats, 20 true damage, full no follow-up, and 7 HP healing when she hits foe during combat. And for the refine, she grants herself and allies empathy, IOT shield, and the breath status for 1 turn at start of player phase and enemy phase, and then Minerva herself during combat gets plus 10 to all stats and 15 true damage reduction. This, you know, this whole refine, this whole weapon now is more something, or not really more something. It serves to make this Minerva more like what Minerva is, you know, like more of her recent alts. Like the young version came with Dragoon Shield, which has shield built into it, and then I believe attack speed plus 3. Whatever, it's just an A skill with very or on a GHP unit. Let's remember that. And then obviously the most recent Minerva art, which is Minerva alt, which was the one that is... I don't remember what the alt is called. You could just put it there, that's what they're called. And, you know, that gives the IO shield status to herself and allies. So just like this one, it's the same thing. So generally, this weapon more so turns her into the modern Minerva, which is, you know, the modern Minerva right now is pretty good. IO shield, pretty good, you know. For tanky tanky flyers, if you have an archer, you're dead. You're not gonna survive that. So a build that would suit this weapon well, or just, you know, any unit, is something like Celestial Form, Blue Sky Gust, Heavenly Sword, and SD Hold Guide with an Erica Ring, just to make her a strong player face unit. But also, you know, was also retreating with the Blue Sky Gust, you know? This build is obviously like very common on like offensive flyers, but even then, it makes Minerva like a very well-rounded unit. You know what I mean? Like, she can be a strong offensive unit and pretty good defensive unit against archers, for example, or any blue unit, because, you know, green units obviously. So whilst this build isn't anything super special, it does make Minerva up to par with the more modern units we have nowadays. Like, her support is great, and her combat capabilities is also great, you know? Like, it could work really well. I'm sorry if I didn't do anything special for Minerva, but honestly, the fact that she gives IO Shield is something that Minerva does, you know? Now, I know, Spring Myrrh, like the harmonic one, she also gives Empathy and IO Shield. I think she does give, Warp Bubble, and in this case, Minerva gives Breath, which technically is similar to her baby version because she also gives Breath. So I guess that kind of works in a way. So it's basically like a mix of what Myrrh can give, and then what young Minerva was able to get. So I just mix these two together. So that's what this whole weapon refine is. It's a really strong weapon. Does it make her the strongest unit again? No, it doesn't, but it does make her a really strong unit.
Don't worry, I'll obliterate anyone who gets in our way.
Now for Takumi. Takumi. He has Fujin Yumi. I hope I said that right. Now, here's the thing. When Fujin Yumi first came out, it came with Pass 2. Well, hey! Pass 2! Like, you know, Pass is arguably one of the more useful effects we have now in today's mana even, because of the Warp Negation or even Bulwark. You know? But then, Ayaz just had to kill him with his Refine. They changed this Pass 2 to an effect that allows him to pass terrain without difficulty. But also the Refine effect gives him the ability to warp nearby allies. Now guess what? That warp would never work because, you know, you got rid of the pass effect. So, you know, if they're against someone like Gatekeeper, you're fucked. You're just fucked. So, you know, let's fix this weapon. You know, and Takumi. Let's fix him. So, what did I do for the base effect? Well, I decided to combine both the old Fujiyumi and the new refined Fujiyumi and combine them into one. Now, what he has is he has pass without condition, without an HP condition. You happy now? Yes, I know. But he can also warp to space, or he can warp to space within 2 spaces of a nearby ally, difficult terrain, or defensive terrain. It's very similar to what Yunaka has, and I believe aided the loot. So, and then my voice cracked. Great. His whole idea is to traverse the terrain really, like, easily, and go through forests really easily. I think that's even something that was mentioned in Fates. I could be very wrong. I don't know exactly. I haven't played any Fire Emblem game other than Engage. I'm sorry, but that's what I've looked up, you know. This is essentially what I know. So, giving him something like this would obviously be very logical. Additionally, during combat, he does get +5 to all stats, 7 true damage reduction, and full no follow-up. His speed is not the greatest. I think, you know, at 40 flowers, he reaches like barely 40 speed or even 42 speed. I don't know exactly. It's not fast at all. But you know what? I want his refine to make him even better, because Takumi deserves all the respect. Give Takumi some respect. He's been disrespected with You know, he's not been giving a 5-star alt since... That's a car, or a bus even, I don't know. He's not been given a good alt since, I believe, you know, I don't even think the Valentine Takumi one is that strong. Maybe back then it would be strong, but even, I don't know. Sorry. For Refine, he grants himself an ally from 2 spaces, attacks people 6, dodge, and reflex for 1 turn at the start of player phase to enemy phase. And during combat, he himself gets plus 10 to all stats and 20 true damage. Now, you think I'm insane. You know, as a matter of fact, hold on. Yes, I am insane. Considering Takumi comes with close counter, Reflex is one of few effects that could truly save him. Like, he really needs something like this. And, you know, honestly, I personally think it's time for a legendary attuned alt, but, you know, that's just me. So, this effect would just make him something, it would make him really good, you know, just make Takumi strong, please. But, for his build, the new Wanning shot could honestly be really nice. Now I know he doesn't really inflict any attack defense penalties, but it comes with 40% true damage reduction or 40% damage reduction. Like, you know, it could work extremely well with the reflex status because, you know, the weapon right now only does 14 true damage reduction and 40% from dodge. So, you know, 40% extra from the special could make him very well. He could technically keep his A skill, but maybe upgrade it to C bonus doubler, because, you know, he grants himself plus 6 attack speed. Now, I also gave him defense res pledge because you can both get breath and also a little bit more defense res so that he can reflect that damage back, or not reflect that damage back. He gets even more defense res because of the close counter or the C bonus doubler. Now, to be fair, if we had C bonus amplifier similar to what Diamant, legendary Diamant has, but a close variant, I would probably use that instead of this because, you know, status effects are more what you call it, more consistent. You keep those status effects more unless you're against someone like Loki. So on top of all that, I also gave him Legu's Loyalty, which is obviously gives him 20% speed-based true damage reduction. But I do know that the Legu's Loyalty effect reduces the dodge status effect to 20% instead of 40%. But, you know, if the foe has damage reduction piercing, this helps compensate for that. It also gives a special jump, so that could be really nice for Takumi with Wanning shot because, you know, with the breath, he's gonna counter back with a strong Wanning shot hit with a speed. Maybe not his defense, because his defense is not that great as his speed. But his speed is great. I said it's great. I said it's around 40. So that's, yeah, maybe. And I hope I did Takumi justice. I do think that this build would turn Takumi into a wild card. You see what I did there? Even if he himself would not be the strong unit, the fact that he can provide dodge and reflex, it gives him like it gives him a competitive or competition, you know, for a unit. You see what I did that again?
I am known as the Angel of Death.
And lastly, we're at the last Refine remix. We got Deathly Dagger from Jaffar. Now, fun fact, Deathly Dagger got upgraded in multiple ways. Yeah, I know. Because firstly, when it came out, it was only 11 might, and it has Poison Strike 2. Not great. Not great at all. But when his Refine came out, the might was upgraded to 14, which is the common might for range weapons, and it also turned the Poison Strike 2 to essentially a Savage Blow 3 type effect that also hits the target, and it does 10 damage instead of 7. Great! And what does his Refine do? It prevents magic foes from countering him. Okay, sure, that's a bit meh. So, you know what, let's try and make him better. For the base effect, he now gains plus 6 attack speed, 20 true damage, breath, and now the flash effect that he originally had in his Refine now applies to any foe he comes in combat with. I did keep the Savage Blow effect that he had same because I thought it was okay. Now, you're probably wondering why I only did attack speed plus 6 instead of like maybe all stats plus 5. But the thing is I feel like defense res would not fit him because he comes with the flash effect. Now, here's the thing. Unless the foe has null C, Jaffar doesn't really need defense res. Now, if the foe does have no C, you're fucked. That's the case in most cases if they have no C and you have a flash strike, you know? So, I feel like the defense res is not necessary. I just gave him attack speed. Just one extra attack speed, that could be nice. Considering his stats, I believe, are pretty low. So, for his refine, he inflicts exposure, speed, and defense shackle on the closest foes of him and foes within 2 spaces of those foes at the start of turn and after he acts. And then during combat, he gets plus 11 attack speed and the potent 100 if the speed difference is 10 less than whatever. So, you know, this refine could help him deal a lot of damage during combat. I do think that at 40 flowers, he doesn't even crack 50 attack, which is really bad. He really needs a lot of true damage. So I hope that essentially plus 30 true damage and breath could help him, you know, do like lay lethal hits on the foe. And, you know, speaking of lethal hits, for the build, something like lethality would work with the Lin ring, you know? And considering he has the potential to attack 3 times with breath, he could proc lethality on the 3rd hit. Now, if he does not proc it on the 3rd hit, if he can at least like attack twice, you know, like, or just attack, not really attack twice, get 1 follow-up during combat, you could run something like Pulse on Blades, which gives him -2 cooldown before his first or his 2nd hit, which makes that lethality proc on the 2nd hit. And then attack speed Waylay gives you, I believe, 10 attack speed, 7 true damage, and also speed based on follow-up, which he obviously doesn't have any no follow-up, so that could be really nice. Now, here's the thing. If the foe has something like Tempo, Jaffar is kind of fucked because, you know, he's not going to really proc that special. The thing is, if with Pulse on Blades, he could technically still proc lethality on the 3rd hit if he can attack 3 times. Well, and that's only if. But, you know, I feel like this refine could help Jaffar. Jaffar right now is not in a good spot because his stats are really bad. But I feel like this refine is pretty good. So will that help him? I don't know. You guys tell me. Because that's all the 6 refine remixes I've made so far. If you have an idea of who I could do next, if you have any suggestions for which units I could refine remix like in my next batch, if I want to ever do this again, let me know in the comments. And, you know, if I do it again, I'll pick it out. Obviously, not all of them. If you leave 50 comments, I'm not going to do 50 units in one video. I'm probably going to do it step by step because obviously it's 6 units. It was the first 6 that ever came out. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you guys like this idea as well. And like I said, if you want to see more, leave a like and tell me who else you want to see. So, I hope you guys, like I said, hope you guys have enjoyed. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys later.